Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me, the more important issues guys here, fresh off a fun weekend where Tennessee took care of business against Kentucky. Tennessee took care of business yesterday against the Gardner-Webb Bulldogs. We'll see on Saturday. It's a double dip situation with a trip to Louisville for the men's team, and then right back later on, night game against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. But you talk all about that here on today's edition of the program. We've got Landon Raby of More Important Issues co-host. Landon, good evening, sir. How are you?
Great, man. Yeah, living it up. Go Vols. We're hosting. We're on pace to host a playoff game. So
we are.
I'm just thinking about that. That's all I'm thinking about.
I'm gonna be the most this is the most Vol just SEC pretentiousness I have, Caleb, but I think getting Indiana would be a delight here at home, and to really drub Indiana. The bowl game from a couple of years ago, just all the Indiana should be higher. Tennessee, Indiana round one matchup in Neyland. I mean, we still got a long way to go. I am 1,000% here for that.
I have no loyalties to Indiana. Zero.
Here we go.
Oh no.
Here's the thing. I mean, tell me I'm wrong about this. You can both weigh in. Indiana's not a team I necessarily want to face. I think Indiana is fairly ranked. I'm not calling for them to be higher. They may be a little too high, honestly. But when you look at the best coaches right now in the top 12, they might have a top 4 or 5 coach. And I don't know if I want to play a top 5 coach in December. Not that I'd welcome Indiana to town gladly. I think Tennessee beats them, but when you're asking who you want to match up with, I'm a Curt Cignetti guy. Landon's got to smoke a Marlboro Red with me this Saturday because he doubted Curt Cignetti against Washington.
Wait, what happened? Why are you smoking a Marlboro Red for Curt Cignetti?
Did you see the flags they were flying at the Washington game that looked like the Marlboro Red pack?
I did not.
Oh, they were sick. You should Google them.
Okay.
But yeah, Landon said if they didn't cut, was it cover? I believe it was cover.
Yeah, I don't know.
That he would smoke a cig for Curt Cignetti with me. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I don't smoke cigs either, but I will, and I will definitely do it if I can make Landon do it. So
yeah, I've never smoked a cig before, so we're gonna
ever?
No.
You've never just been out, like when you're out late at night at the bar, like it's the peanut butter and jelly of adult life when you're in your 20s, like at beer and a cig at 1:30 in the morning.
The smell makes me want to die inside, but
really,
but he loves Cool Beans, so don't let him lie to you.
Yeah,
Cool Beans. You've been at a Cool Beans and you like.
Well, I guess like he's in a way I have smoked a cigarette because I've been.
No, you got it. Like you've never had a pull of a cigarette.
I've definitely inhaled some smoke, but yeah,
some secondhand.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. I don't even know how that's possible at Cool Beans, especially.
Yeah, so I mean, this first one I might be hooked. Who knows?
Well, let's not do that. Like, I'm not saying you missed the boat, Landon.
We're at the age where
you're married now. Like, you missed the boat, man. You're supposed to do this in your early 20s. You get through it. No, you don't jump into it now.
Yeah, maybe I'll just become a chain smoker. Who knows? Paint the walls yellow and everything like that. Yeah.
There you go. Wow.
What a start!
What a start!
It was the Curt Cignetti doubting, and it's not Indiana.
Yeah.
It's Cignetti.
They lost to JG, so I'm fully confident we're beating Indiana.
But Curt Cignetti was at James Madison when that happened.
I don't care who Curt Cignetti is. I don't even
you said that, and
I don't like him. I don't like his name.
They say like one cigarette can take 10 years off your life, Landon, and you lost 10 years because you doubted Curt Cignetti.
He's just a more confident Eli Drinkowitz.
Wow. I think Cignetti's legitimately good.
Landon.
I think he is too, but he looks like Eli Drinkowitz.
Does he?
The glasses, shaved face. He doesn't look like he doesn't look like he played football.
I can see a little bit. Interesting.
I'm out on the. I don't need my coach to play football. Speaking of Mississippi State Bulldogs, I hope I have something for Landon and I to wear on the podcast Thursday. Tune in on Fox Sports Knox, Chase. And I think we got to do something to honor Mike Leach Saturday, right? I don't know, play a Pirates of the Caribbean theme or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be cool. Both teams should wear like a pirate patch or something, or a sticker on their helmet. That'd be cool.
Yes, everyone plays with a pirate patch on their eye. I agree.
I mean, something cool though. I mean, there's the crossover between those two guys, and
for sure.
I mean, Mike Leach, almost Tennessee coach at one point. Remember that? Like way years ago. I still have an uncle who was like mad about that. Tennessee not hiring.
I think
Mike
we still
Leach.
count him, just like Jeff Brom. We still count him as a coach.
He's got a Wikipedia entry on our on Tennessee football.
Mike Leach would have been good here, man. That would have been fun to have Mike Leach coaching the Vols for a while. That would have been fun, and also just for media and he would have fit in. Like he would have been Leach, a very.
I think
he would have been able to handle
on his walk one time. I think someone would attack him when he walks back to his Tennessee River house.
I don't know. I think
these fans are crazy.
Yeah, but he was just his answers and everything else. I don't know. I just think he was too likable. Who couldn't like Mike Leach?
I think it's easy to like him from afar. I think if he's your coach, you don't want him breaking down how two mascots could fight after a loss that you're really frustrated by.
I don't know. Leach, innovator.
I love him.
He won everywhere he went. I mean, winning at Texas Tech consistently, winning at Washington State consistently.
Sure.
Getting Mississippi State back. It would have been like, can you imagine like with us wandering the wilderness for 10 years, if you were able to just go from Leach to Heupel, like how that would have been pretty nice. That kind of,
if you can bridge, if you could have used him as a bridge coach, I think I would take him. Other than that, I think I like him too much to risk. I'm glad he didn't get the chance to like spoil on me. Because I guess
more than anything, I would have liked to have seen him with a big job that could win a national title. You know, we never saw him. Like Washington State could never win a national title. Mississippi State can't. Texas Tech can't. But I would have you know how there's just certain coaches you want to like, you wish you had seen them at a program that actually could. And I think it's part of why like the Kalen DeBoers of the world. It's like, why would you ever take the Bama jobs? Because I think a lot of guys really want to see what they would do with that kind of access to talent and that kind of potential. Like, could they maximize it? Could they win? Because there aren't that many programs that have that kind of those kind of resources and everything else. So I don't know. He's all-time great coach, but he was one that I've always had circled of like, I would have liked to have seen him at Tennessee or Florida or one of these bigger jobs just to see how it would have worked with his personality and style.
I certainly agree with you. I also like, as a Tennessee fan, the way he almost became our coach and how it resulted in like the wildest 15 days of any athletic department ever. Like a guy went rogue to try to hire, of all people, and not say that, it just meaning like, of course it was Mike Leach that a guy sounds like stole a private plane to get to.
And then you look at it, I mean, all the what ifs, and I mean, Gundy from years ago, and I mean, also Clausen being the OC for a year and that ending the Fulmer era, and then Clausen just being good and the offense is being so good at Wake Forest forever. And you're just like, wow, why did that not work? Really badly. It just blew up in flames. Like Dave Clausen, good offensive mind, didn't work here for that year with Fulmer and everything. I don't know. It's just so funny, like, to think about all these different sliding doors moments in Tennessee coaching over the last 15 years, man. It's wild.
Yeah, no, it is. I agree, and it all started with Lane Kiffin leaving his job while on vacation. I mean,
yeah, good.
I guess not, because you mentioned Clausen, but it really started then.
Yeah, man. But now we're here. Now we are here. So let's do an immediate reaction here to the college ball. We're taping this on a Tuesday night, folks. So the college ball playoff rankings just came out. Tennessee not number one overall in the first rankings as they were 2 years ago, but that's a good spot to be in because right now there are two things that are important here, Caleb, and I want to get your perspective on this. First thing, you're ahead of Alabama, which is important because we've seen some stuff where Tennessee and Alabama, if they both have 2 losses, Bama might get in over Tennessee if they're only taking 4 SEC schools or something like that. You want to be ahead of Alabama right now, which is important because it shows that like head-to-head still matter, and that is something that should not change down the stretch if both have 2 losses. Alabama should not get in over Tennessee if it's an either or situation. But that's a nice thing. And also, 8's higher than I thought they were going to go. I didn't think Tennessee was going to be that high at this point because I thought people would kind of ding them for the offensive struggles. Like, I thought that would be more of an issue in terms of where they got seated. I thought they'd be in it. I just thought they'd be a little bit higher. What say you, sir?
I was a little worried about that too. But I guess when you break it down, and I don't know what everyone's points per game are right now, but I mean, Penn State's offense looked non-existent this very past week. I think a lot of the Tennessee's offense has struggled is mostly versus Tennessee's offense. Like when you rank, I mean, you have Dylan Sampson on that offense, one of the best running backs in the country, 9th in yards, I think, 3rd in touchdowns. There is a producer on this team, and the offense has scored enough points to win. Now, part of that is an elite defense, which certainly helps this ranking. I don't know where I thought exactly they'd land. I'm not shocked that this almost matches the AP poll. I don't know how we really get into the weeds of it, and we're going to need a really strong investigator on this one. But I would like to find out how Kirby Smart convinced the College Football Playoff Committee to rank Tennessee number 1 the week they played Georgia. Because that was the most, as a Tennessee fan, that was the most fraudulent ranking I think I've ever seen. Tennessee had no business being number 1 over Georgia that year. I'm sorry, we didn't. It shouldn't have happened. So I would like to see that. But I like where Tennessee's at right now. I think it's fair. I think the playoff looks as good as it could, and what we know, so much is going to shape these next few weeks in a 12-team play. They could not have drawn up a better first year for a 12-team playoff and all the craziness. I'm interested to see how they spin the rules they wrote, similar to how they wrote these rules to keep Florida State out. I'm interested to see. I mean, the fact that they can virtually say head-to-head doesn't matter. How did anyone ever agree to that? I don't understand. I don't care what Condoleezza Rice has to say about Tennessee or Alabama. If they played, you take the winner. Like that's that simple.
What about you, Landon?
Yeah, they're kind of where I thought they would be. Now, I am going to be irate here in a few weeks if Tennessee does lose to Georgia and somehow Alabama is ranked ahead of Tennessee.
Yeah.
What did you consider Georgia beat Alabama?
Yeah, no.
Or Alabama beat Georgia. Sorry.
Beat Georgia, yeah.
I just don't like that. Should be the first. If you have the same record, the first thing you go to is head to head. It's automatic. I don't understand that. I don't understand how. I mean, if you're looking at resume wise, how is Tennessee's resume worse than Penn State and Texas? Who has Texas beat?
Michigan.
Who has Penn State beat?
Yeah. Well, Texas is going to have their shot, right? A&M at the end of the year.
At A&M. Yeah, for
Texas
sure.
still currently has no current top 25 wins, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Neither does Penn State.
Or no, Vandy just got back in. Correct. So
did Vandy get back in?
I think Vandy got back in this week, so that's it. Sorry.
Yeah. So and Penn State doesn't have any.
But think about it. Like we're hyping up Texas' resume a little bit, but hey, Vanderbilt's ranked now. That we're talking about Vanderbilt is their biggest win potentially on their schedule thus far. Right. We're in mid-November almost.
Which, if Tennessee does beat, say they're ranked at the end of the year, Tennessee beats them, that should have the same weight as Texas.
Yeah.
Being their only good win.
Right.
I just have questions about what is more important when it comes to these rankings, because right now it seems like you could copy and paste with the AP poll, like Caleb was saying. But at the end of things, what is the main thing that could make or break somebody not being in the playoff?
Well, I think the main thing is you have to have a showing kind of like what we saw with Georgia, Alabama in the SEC title game last year, where obviously Georgia, it sucked for them, but that was a 4-team playoff. In a 12-team playoff, you need, as long as Tennessee plays Georgia close, or that, because I think the committee obviously respects Georgia the most in the SEC right now. As long as, you could still beat Georgia. This Georgia team's beatable. But if you hold Georgia to under 20 points like you have everybody else this year, and that game is 19-16 or something, and that's how you lose that game. That comes away. I think every Tennessee fan should not be nervous about the Bama stuff or anything like that, because if you go to war like that with Georgia and it looks like these two teams are evenly matched and the committee already sees Georgia as the cream of the crop in the conference, if Tennessee gives them all they can handle and this defense keeps them in the game for 4 quarters, and it's just dogfight, like kind of like we just take them to the Kentucky style fight against them, then that's good. And then the other thing too is, unfortunately, narratives matter. If Nico has turned the corner, like how he looked on Saturday against Kentucky, if he has several games in a row where he looks closer to that Heisman type guy, that matters. Like, they want to put Nico Iamaleava in the playoff. Like, that kind of player, like, they want this Tennessee offense for ratings. Like, TV matters in this sport. So if your defense is already right there, but Nico looks like he is really figuring some stuff out, that's another thing, and that I think the committee will want to do. I'm just not at the panic mode of like, oh, what's going to happen? I think Tennessee, as long as they go 10-2 or better, I think Tennessee's going to make it in. That's my gut here at number 8.
Do you think a former Secretary of Defense, though, seeing how good Nico's been, watches Chaz Nimrod drop a wide open post, and she might think, well, maybe they shouldn't be in the playoff then because of style points? Because
no, I just think
that is
other
a
people
possibility.
I think style points matter for the ACC schools, the Big 12 schools. I think Boise State style points matter. You don't want to leave any doubt that Army can get that spot over you. You don't want to, like, I don't think the SEC, I think the SEC we've seen last year, I mean, what you saw, Alabama getting in over Florida State. My gut is style points don't really matter for the SEC as much as it does for these other conferences. Like Clemson, they lost a lot of points. They're going to have to like be thinking style points. Like, you need to fight their way back in. I mean, unless you just look at it, you can still win the ACC. But I guess in terms of like BYU, they're having to fight for style points just to get the first round bye, because that could go to Boise. They could give that spot to Boise and BYU's in, but they're not one of the top 4 rated teams to get that first round bye. So I my gut is style points matter less for where Tennessee's sitting at this present moment.
Well, I have a question there. Boise, especially with Notre Dame looking how they look, I don't think there will not be another non-Power 4 team get in besides the automatic qualifier. So, I mean, I don't think you're wrong that style, and it depends how things shake out in these last few weeks. But
this weekend helped that a lot.
Sure, but Ole Miss, if they beat Georgia and finish with 2 losses, that Kentucky loss is the wash. Doesn't matter anymore.
If Ole Miss wins out, they're in. Like that Georgia win and everything, they're in. Yeah.
And then Notre Dame would take that essentially from Boise if they're not the automatic qualifier. So, and then I mean, style points, you want to make, just leave no doubt kind of deal, but they really just have to win out and they're going to be the highest ranked conference champion. But I thought the top 4 seeds only went to the Power 4 conference winners.
No, it's just the 4 highest rated conference champs, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
So if they rate Boise, it's just not, we just all assume that it would be the Power 4 that get those 4 spots. Okay. Yeah. So
that's
the way I've interpreted it and what I've seen is like Boise can be like, as a Mountain West champ, if they win the Mountain West and are ranked higher in the CFP rankings than BYU, they would get a first round bye and BYU would have to play a first round game.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just not something we expected because you just assumed they would be. There was no way a G5 would be ranked higher in the final rankings, but it's definitely in play with Boise.
Speaking of like going, talking about resumes and stuff, kind of going back to that, how in the world, if I'm Indiana, I'm pissed because, I mean, they kind of punish Indiana saying like, oh, we're kind of waiting for you to actually play somebody when, I mean, Penn State doesn't have any quality wins. Why are they rated so much higher than Indiana when they have this? They've just played Ohio State and lost. Is that the only factor in there?
It's got to be the Michigan love, which Indiana can make up for this week, right? And Penn State.
Well, I think it's that, and also Michigan just I'm sure talent. And I think part of it is like, what would the spread be if they were on a neutral site? And you just look at it where it's like Penn State has the history. Obviously, Penn State 10-2 Penn State. Like they're just going to keep. They have such a high floor that they're just safer and have earned the benefit of the doubt, that Indiana is just an uncharted waters, man. Like this undefeated run for them is just, you're kind of still waiting week over week for the bottom to fall out. And the bottom's not falling out for Penn State. They're still going 10-2 or 11-1.
I see your point, but isn't that just on the surface admitting that this is an incredibly flawed organizational structure?
That's why they're going to keep expanding.
Why would you not just say, hey, we're going to put all these teams on what we think the closest? I mean, not every NFL teams play each other, but they all play for the same spots based on record for a playoff spot. If you just agree that they're all on level playing field, us as viewers know they're not. Same for NCAA basketball. Like, we know the SEC schedule is tougher than most schedules in the country, but you accept that you're all on level playing field. You have to earn these. Yes, you have quad wins, but at the end of the day, like, still usually if the better records are getting in. And I don't know, Indiana and Penn State are in the same conference. They virtually play the same schedule on paper. I don't think we should be looking at Vegas odds to determine who's better.
Is also like a venue, could that have any kind of play into this? Like say a 10-2 Tennessee and an 11-1 Indiana. Are they going to, if it's between the two of those that play home or away, I mean, they're coming to Neyland, right?
Yeah.
Surely.
I mean, just the ratings itself are not going to be
seats.
As high.
We got to lobby for seats. Think about the seats.
Yes, Southern Miss. Thank you.
That was such a crazy situation, man. That's Southern Miss stuff.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, it's going to snow in Indiana in December. Come on.
But
we'll run the bad
money
weather gambit.
Yeah, I think that is going to be something that they take into consideration.
Well, yeah, and also just like what that matchup. I mean, they know what the ratings are for Tennessee and primetime at home and all of this, and the pageantry. That's part of why. Like, I know you're kind of nervous about Indiana coming here, Caleb, but I'm just not worried about Tennessee losing a first round game.
I'm not nervous about Indiana.
I don't see that.
I'm not nervous about Indiana. It's just, I think, let me just pull up the rankings right here. I think Curt Cignetti is a better football coach than James Franklin, who I think is a good football coach. But I think if you line them up, X's and O's, I think Curt Cignetti is going to outcoach him.
We know who's on Caleb's number one on his hot coaching board here at
100%.
Tennessee in the next 2 years. He's all in on Caleb. Like, if I've been in on Heupel, you're all in on the Cignetti.
I've been in on Curt Cignetti since James Madison. This is an OG Sabanite. He was on Saban's first
Landon,
staff
he's
in Alabama.
so far down the Curt Cignetti rabbit hole. Like, he's already, but like, you're already imagining this man in orange. Like, you're ready.
He runs his Wikipedia.
I don't want him, but we have to keep him out of the SEC. That's the key. I do not want him in the SEC.
I just realized the biggest nightmare Florida might open. Florida could hire just Curt Cignetti. That's your nightmare, Caleb.
You know, if I'm Florida, I've already fired Billy Napier and I've already gotten Curt Cignetti. I don't know why they haven't.
Are you like, you could be his agent? Like, you could be Curt Cignetti's agent here, man.
I'll only take 5%. I think he's better than Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning?
Wow.
I think X's and O's wise. He's won far more football games than Dan Lanning.
Okay. Kirby?
I don't think he's better than Kirby. I do think I think he is very close to being on the same
Irk Russell
playing field as Kalen DeBoer. I think Ryan Day is the most fraudulent head coach in all of college football. They say it about him every year. This guy was born on third and thinks he hit a triple. He is at the Ohio State University and can't win a damn thing that matters.
I don't know. He almost beat Georgia in the CFP semifinal.
Awesome. I love that for him. He almost beat
He
Georgia.
was right there.
Urban Meyer had a heart attack when he almost beat Georgia and had to go spend time with his family for 6 months. He's not
Dude
good.
won a lot of titles too. Urban won everywhere. Urban's a guy.
Legit.
He went at Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, Ohio State.
He hands Ryan Day one of the best assembled football teams of all time, and he wins nothing.
I think winning it all is hard. I don't know. A lot of coaches would.
Sure. But you were at Ohio State to win one game a year, and that's to beat Michigan, and he hasn't done that. So,
but would it surprise y'all if Ryan Day won it all this year?
Yes.
I think I would. I just don't trust Will Howard. I really don't.
Yeah. But who do we trust at quarterback right now? The only quarterback I trust in the country right now is Shedeur Sanders. He's the only one who I'm like, he is such a high floor. Like, y'all go through Shedeur's numbers and everything. Shedeur is like completing 75% of his passes. Shedeur has those big time moments, that Hail Mary. Like, Shedeur is actually like, they could win the Big 12 and be right there. Like, he's the only one I think who, like, he's made a big jump. Colorado is legitimately just good at this point. I don't know. I mean, Shador is like the only one. It's kind of like you wish this was the NFL where you could do a trade deadline. Like one of these contenders like like Ohio State would just be perfect for Shador. Like you just bring him in. Like then I think everyone would flip on Ohio State where you're like, oh, Shador Sanders throwing to these receivers and these like, oh yeah, this is unbelievable. Shador is the only one to me that I'm like, he seems the least bust proof of any quarterback going in the draft here.
Have you ever heard of Nico?
Nico can't go in the draft this year. Yeah.
No,
Nico,
I'm talking about. You said that's your trust in Shador Sanders the most. I mean, maybe Cam Ward is up there, right? I mean,
Cam's right there, but Cam throws these picks and he's all over the place. Like Cam's definitely like number 2 for me, but I think in terms of like just what more guaranteed, like what I'm gonna get, I just feel like he's the safest. I think Cam has the highest upside because Cam just does some crazy, like he does a lot more with his legs. Like Cam just is more of the all around package, but Cam will do those crazy interceptions like he did in the Louisville game and stuff where I'm just like, I don't know. He has some heat checks that Shador just doesn't do.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know. But we'll see.
One more person. I'll real quick. I love Marcus Freeman. I'm a big fan. I think right now Cignetti's better than Marcus Freeman as a head coach.
Oh, I think so. I mean, he hasn't lost to Northern Illinois at home.
Thank you. Everyone's forgotten.
And Marshall.
Lost to Northern Illinois.
And Marshall. Yikes.
Goodness gracious. We've come a long way from the Georgia State loss. How much, Landon, has your opinion changed about the 2024 Vols after the Kentucky victory on Saturday night?
I think it's kind of the same thing every week. It's like this offense seemed to have taken another step. Nico played his best football game, and it was in the black uniform. So if that's what it takes, I guess we just wear those every game.
Oh gosh,
work for baseball.
Yeah, just keep wearing them, keep winning in them. Yeah, I mean, not a lot has really changed. I thought the defense maybe took, I don't want to say it took a step back because you gave up 18 points. And one was a trick play and one was a just throw it up and it landed right in the breadbasket for a quarterback who is not accurate at all. So, yeah, I don't think a lot has changed. I still am confused about the receivers because if those receivers catch some of those passes that end up being touchdowns, is Tennessee higher in the college football playoff rankings? You know, are people thinking differently about Tennessee after that Kentucky win if Nico goes for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns?
I mean, that was right there. Like Nico, I mean, the Chris Brazzell drop early and then the Chaz Nimrod slant. And the Nimrod one, because he had a dime catch over there. Like Nico threw him a dart on the right-hand side. So Chaz did both, but I think Brazzell finished 5 targets, 2 receptions, the bad drop, and you're just like, that spot is where, I mean, Mike Matthews got a lot more run in this game. He had 27 snaps, Caleb, and he's on ESPN. Great pancake block from Matthews this week. I saw y'all sharing that out at the More Important Issues Twitter account, and it, like, I just the Dante aspect to me is what stands out. Is I think Brew has shown he's solid, but he had some drops and he wasn't great in this game. Squirrel obviously not 100% at this point. He only had like 2 receptions. It's just so obvious that Dante Thornton is the big play guy. Like if you want to connect on these, the most sure-handed guy in this receiver room is still Dante Thornton. And it's just, that's the difference between Nico having a 4. Like I think Dante Thornton brings in that catch that Brazzell dropped. Like I don't have any worries about Dante in that crosser. We saw him do something similar against Oklahoma on that touchdown catch. So it's just like Dante's still to this point the only one right now who's earned my like unequivocal, like he's a dude, I trust him whenever we throw his way.
Brew?
Oh no, Dante.
But you don't, but I mean,
I don't trust Brew that way now.
Really?
Yeah. Brew's fine.
Interesting.
He's fine. Like Brew is okay, but Brew is he's not a game breaker. Like Brew,
Brew isn't probably in the position Brazzell's in just because of speed.
Yeah.
But I think I would put him number 1, that if a ball is in his area, he's catching it. He's
over
not
Dante
guy. Yeah. If the ball is in his area, he's catching it. Now, I'm not going to say he's as fast. He's not going to go score that touchdown on the post route, but he's going to catch the football.
I would like to see him have more routes other than just the hitch routes. And maybe they do a lot more of that and he's just not targeted, but I think him with slants and a hitch, I would like to see more down the field stuff. I think he is like, he looks faster than he's ever been. I don't know if it's number 5, but he looks faster than he's ever been this season.
I think he should be the guy that's running the drag routes. We've tried to run those digs with him. He should be the guy over the middle because he's going to catch it. And if he's going to get tackled for no gain, it's going to be a heck of a tackle that's made. Like I think he's the guy you go over the middle with. And I know it's tough to get the guy from the outside there, but there's not a lot of receivers that have done it for us so far. So I think you've got to run plays to do that.
But why are we not throwing more deep stuff to Dante Thornton? That's where what I do not get.
Yeah.
Is like we're throwing him like
guy, Chase.
Yeah, we're throwing him like screens and stuff like that. That's just not him. He's like 6'5". Why are we throwing like screens and stuff? Let him.
Well, in those Brazzle routes, like downfield, like that should be a Dante play. Like Dante should be the one who's getting the call there. Like Dante should be getting 3 to 5 deep balls a game. Like he's going to come down with a couple, and those are probably 6. Like Dante is just to jumpstart the deep stuff for us. I think it's just the Dante. You've seen when this passing game looks the best, it's 12 personnel with the tight ends, and then it's the deep shots to Dante Thornton. I just feel like that's where you're going to break out, especially against Mississippi State on Saturday. But maybe it's just the injury stuff because he hasn't played a lot of snaps over the last month. So getting him right, maybe it's just the biggest part of what's going on there. Do you have the
snap counts in front of you? I'm curious of what
was his snap counts against Kentucky, because I know he was at 20 something for the last 2 weeks combined. What did he get snap count? I'll pull it up real quick.
Okay. I'm just curious because it doesn't seem like he's out there a whole lot, and that's concerning. Because you're right, he has been your most productive receiver up to this point.
Sorry, it's taking me a second. There it is. He had 48 snaps in this game.
Wow. It did not
feel like he had 48.
No. And maybe it is just a lot more of, especially in the second half, like that's when Dylan Sampson gets going and you're not throwing a whole lot. And when you are, like, it's short stuff to kind of just keep moving the football and use the tight ends a lot more. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the wide receivers, they're just not as big of a part of the offense as they have been in the past.
Well, and they also don't have to when Miles Kitselman and Holden Stays play as well as they did. Like, those two were awesome. And they played 50-plus snaps. And I forgot who else, dude. Maybe it was on VolQuest this week of like, are we at a point now where you just make 12 personnel the default personnel for Tennessee the rest of the way because the receiver position being banged up and you don't trust it as much? Like, is that now the base? Like, you do 12 personnel the most, and Miles Kitselman and Holden Stays are on the field more often than not because that's where you found the most success. Like, I don't know if that's where you're at.
I want to see more 12 personnel, but I think 12 personnel works because you're using it in waves. I don't know if this Tennessee offense, the way it's called, I don't know if this Tennessee offensive line could play 12 personnel for 60 minutes. If we find out that's the case, that's fun. I would be interested to see a 12 personnel look with Ethan Davis being your second, and using him as a receiver as times 2. Where sure it looks like 12 personnel, but he's actually in the slot. I think that would be interesting.
Ethan Davis,
he's your third tight end. Yeah, he's your third tight end.
But you're not using.
He played 13 snaps on.
You're not using Holden Stays in the slot, and I think Ethan Davis has played fine when given the opportunity.
Well, we just don't know. I don't even think he's given enough for us to know one way. I don't have an opinion on Ethan Davis.
Yeah,
sure. But I mean, he's definitely an athlete. And I think if you're going to use 12 personnel frequently, I think that's one way you'd have to use it, is have a guy that you could flex out there and be a threat without, because that's the Tennessee offense. They can, whatever formation they're in personnel wise, how many plays do they have there? Because that's key. They don't want to substitute. They don't want to slow down the offense.
I mean, Ethan Davis is the one who makes the most sense, especially in the slot. What are you talking about? They did an even split of Chaz and Squirrel. They both played like 25 snaps in the slot.
Yeah.
On Saturday. So
hey, the way Mike Matthews is blocking, put him in the slot and let him block some in 12 personnel. Whatever you got to do.
It's just so weird because I think the offense took a huge step forward in a lot of ways, especially Nico. I think the offensive line's fine. I think the offensive line is
Landon mentioned like where these wide receivers at. I think that's. I think we're not asking that if the 2 balls are caught, Brazel and.
I think I'm still asking that.
I think it changes your outlook on the game a lot.
Well, I mean, I think it changes people's outlook on Nico, but I think I was already pretty positive on Nico in this game, and I think it was his best game as a ball. I just look at it in terms of like, even if Brazel comes down with that or Nimrod comes down with that, it's still, to me, I'm like, I still have no idea how they're going to handle this rotation, because then it muddies the waters with Squirrel potentially if Chaz comes down with that and has that kind of breakout game. Like, what does that look like? He's banged up, Brew's banged up, Dante's banged up. Brazel still has some. I don't know. Like, to me, I just think it's gonna. I'd be pulling whatever hair I have left out if I was Kelsey Pope trying to figure out what the right mixture is. Because I mean, we saw with Golish in 21 where he was like, "Nope, we're going to 3. We're going to Vilas, Javante, and Brew. That's it, and Tillman, and that's it."
Yeah. But I mean, I think if Nimrod doesn't catch that one, or if Nimrod does catch that one, the rotation looks weird, but you're like, oh, well, maybe we found one guy there.
Maybe.
And then you're not questioning where, you're not – I mean, I'm wondering where Dante's at a lot too, but if Brazel can come down with some of these catches, I'm not wondering as much.
Yeah. I just think you're overthinking Dante. Just throw it up to Dante.
Sure.
Like, let Dante let's just see what happens. And more good things happen when Dante Thornton is throwing the football.
Yeah, there's just too many drops for me to like. You say you're so deep, but why is there so many drops and guys not playing if you're that deep?
I do love that I feel like there's a lot of guys playing. You're wondering why some guys are playing and some guys aren't getting as many snaps. I just like that it's not last year where it's like, man, our corner's stuck, but we're not even going to give the guys behind them an opportunity. At least there's guys being put on the field.
That's still not in corner. Corner, they're playing 3.
Well, they're good this year.
They are good. I was going to say, the opportunity's not really opened up. Like, Reed Gibson and Jermod McCoy have been like, no, this is ours, and we're not coming off the field.
When you can't defend a hitch route and you look to the sideline and there's no one helmet on ready to go, that's not a good sign for
you don't like 3rd and 8 and playing 10 yards off?
I've thought about that a lot. And no, I'm not fond of giving up first downs for fun.
Where did Nico impress you the most on Saturday, Landon?
I just think there wasn't like so many negative plays. Like, he can go pick up 2 or 3 yards and make a little something out of nothing. I think he improvised well. He escaped the pocket a lot. I mean, that throw that he made to Miles Kitzelman, the throw he made to Dante, like, those 2 throws are not just like called plays. Like, he improvised and made a play when you needed it. That throw to Nimrod, that was a big 3rd down you had to pick up. So I just think when stuff kind of didn't seem like it was going to go his way, he found a way to keep moving the football. And score points, and that's why you were able to get that win on Saturday. So I just think he was more decisive with his decision making, and he just looks more comfortable every time he's out there.
No turnovers. He only had 1 throw that probably should have been picked off by the Kentucky player. But I mean, to your point, Landon, I think he's a lot more comfortable, Caleb, right? And I think part of that is just the offensive line's better. Like, he's not running for his life. I think that's one of the obvious things is like Lance Hurd settled in. I think the rotation between Dane and Campbell has normalized some stuff. I think Carrick and obviously Cooper's been great every week. And outside of that snap right before the half, that was like a lone Cooper where it's like, you just got to snap it, man. Like, that's, you got to get that ball off. Like that can't happen. But Javonte Spraggins, I think he was kind of slow getting ready to go, and he's fine. I think that's a big thing for a young quarterback, because I think Nico just trusts the line a lot more, and he should, because it seems like Tennessee has cleaned up the offensive line issues that plagued them early on, right?
Yeah, and I think this game was probably really good for Nico. I thought his composure was really, really good, which both of you were kind of like leaning into there, talking about all of his play. I thought his composure was really good, and what impressed me too in that is that I thought the offensive line played well, but I didn't think they played their best game. If you look at the last few, so I think that was good for him to have that kind of game. At times he escaped the pocket. The sprint outs and the rollouts were working. He still made throws from within the pocket. The most frustrating thing about this is the last time I mentioned Chaz Nimrod's drop. The most frustrating thing about that drop was just how good Nico looked as a passer on that play. Feet moving, eyes moving. They were doing it together. He gets to Nimrod and fits it in, throws it, times it perfect, puts it on his chest. I don't care if he would have scored. I mean, he would have scored a touchdown. I don't care if he would have scored a touchdown or not. That's the one that I'm just like, I wouldn't have stopped smiling about the whole night. I'm like, we found our quarterback, guys. Like, and I still think that, but I would have told everybody around me a million times until they told me to shut up. So yeah, I think he looked really, really composed in this game. And I was happy with the offensive line play. I don't think they played their best game.
That's fair. For me, I think it's just Nico. I think you're going to see his best game. We talked about it at the tailgate on Saturday. I thought Kentucky would cover, and they covered in this one. This was going to be kind of ugly. I think this was, by and large, you got over the first half scoring hump here. But it's also, I just think Mississippi State's where the coming out party happens for Nico. I think Nico is going to put up some big time numbers. I think the receivers have a better day against Mississippi State, and I think they're going to feel really good going into Athens. I think this offense turned the corner a little bit here on Saturday, and I think the downfield stuff connects, similar to the way we saw it connect against Chattanooga and Kent State. I'm not saying they're that bad, but this Mississippi State defense is awful, and I think this is the worst team in the SEC this year. Tennessee is going to bounce, and it's going to be nice because I think if you have Nico feeling really, really good heading into Athens and this receiving core and everybody's firing on all cylinders, that's a really good spot. I think this Mississippi State to Georgia situation is actually a really good back-to-back for them, where they finished strong, undefeated at home again in 2 of the last 3 seasons, which is awesome. But it's also, I think you build off it with Nico, and then Nico has 2 weeks of tape of just solid, clean quarterback play, and I think that's very much in play, and I just think that goes a long way for a young quarterback. Nico playing his best ball going into Athens is a really good spot because we weren't sure that was going to be the case a month ago.
I'm wondering if that kind of, the push into the end zone, the final touchdown there, Nico kind of goes in there, and I wonder if that's kind of a turning point for like the passing game. Is that because like in high school, we had a sophomore quarterback when we were seniors. There was just like that growing pains, I guess, like getting comfortable and everything like that. I wonder if that has that same impact. Just like, okay, this guy's a dog. He's in control of the offense. He's going to put it where it needs to be, obviously. And guys like Chaz Nimrod maybe make more of those plays. Because I'm screaming and I'm like, do we even want to help out our young quarterback when we have these drops?
Dante Thornton does.
Yes. Brew does most of the time.
Brew does. Well, that Dante Thornton catch on that.
Seems like he can't physically a lot of
that
times.
Escape was incredible.
Yeah. I think Brazel's the one I'm most concerned about because I think at this point, I'm probably like, it's kind of like the Thornton thing in the slot last year where it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen this year. And what you have, like I'm just giving all of Brazel snaps right now to Thornton if he can handle it. Or you go, I mean, even Brew, like you mix Brew and Mike Matthews. Like you saw Mike on the outside. I don't think Brew needs 60 snaps, 50 to 60 snaps. I would break it up where I've got Brew at 30 on one side with Mike getting 30. It's probably how I would break it up at this point. I would probably still break it up half and half with Chaz and Squirrel in the slot. And then I would be like, the biggest disparity would probably be Thornton and Brazel, where I'm going like 50 snaps Thornton, like 10 to 15 Brazel. Like I think at this point, Brazel got to show it in those limited spots that he can be counted on for these deep shots and everything else because Thornton is just, he has to be out there as much as humanly possible. And I think the way to get Mike on the field, because Brew is not being targeted as much anyway, and Mike showing you some stuff pass blocking anyway, I think I I think I rotate with Brew and Mike a lot more down the stretch there, which might be weird with their body size and everything else, but both good blockers on the outside. And I think that's probably where you rotate.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see kind of how that plays out because it's been so different every year. Like you mentioned, the 3 guys, and then the year after that, they kind of played the same 3, and then Cedric Tillman got hurt. They played Ramel Keaton. And you always heard like, oh, they're going to play a lot more guys this year, and they are, but you're not getting that same production from anybody.
Right.
And it makes you wonder, is this an offense where you just can't really rotate?
We should have just known Josh Heupel knew all along when we called for more than 3 guys. And we didn't. Okay.
It's like, it's actually better just to have 3. Probably just goes 3 guys 60 snaps a game.
My Gaston Moore, everyone has a Gaston Moore conspiracy. He was called upon to throw the interception to prove the point. Josh Heupel knew how good this defense would be, so he's just making us suffer with like 6 wide receivers for the regular season. He's going to really turn it on in the playoffs.
That's the turning point of the season. Gaston Moore's interception.
Honestly, I mean.
Also, just to mention this, I think we have to say, like, Peyton Lewis is in the rotation now. Like, Peyton Lewis, that drive was huge to tie things up. It's going to get forgotten, I think, by Tennessee fans, but don't overlook that drive. 14 play drive, 70 yards. Like, he was a workhorse. 8 carries, 24 yards, TD. He looked great. And that was his first, like, real thrown into action in a big spot because Deshaun Bishop gets hurt and he comes in there and Samson fumbled. And I didn't have that on my bingo card, was Peyton Lewis getting a real shot there. It's probably not a good sign for where Cam Seldon's at the rest of the way here for Tennessee. But Peyton Lewis, I've been high on him coming in, and he just looks like a complete back. He does not look like a true freshman coming in there. And I like Bishop. We'll see where he's at this week. But I think if Bishop is dinged up and not a full go this week or whatever, I think Tennessee fans should be perfectly okay with Peyton Lewis. You saw Nate Frazier as a true freshman show out a little bit for Georgia against Florida. I think there's that same kind of real juice for Peyton Lewis where he just looks like Peyton Lewis is going to be a dude at Tennessee to me sooner rather than later. I don't know if y'all thought the same.
Oh, yeah, that drive was fun to watch. That was fun football. And I had people around me as we crept closer to the end zone asking where Dylan Sampson is. I was like, you don't take that ball out of 2-7's hands at this point.
Yeah.
That's his.
He's earned it.
Dylan Sampson should be cheering for him right now. And if he gets called to go into the game, he should refuse. That's his touchdown to get. And he got it. He earned it. Every second of it.
Yeah. I love it. Fact or fiction, Landon? Mississippi State will push Tennessee's defense on Saturday. They pushed Georgia, had some deep shots, scored a lot in Athens. Is there a chance that Tennessee's secondary gets pushed a little bit by Van Buren and the boys of Hail State here on Saturday night?
No. I mean, we were just talking about it earlier, like a quarterback hasn't finished the game besides Jalen Milroe. And I'm not going to bank on a true freshman doing the same. So I don't think so. I think I think this defense goes up against a Josh Heupel offense every day in practice. I think they're going to be prepared for the tempo and everything like that. That kind of throws other teams off. And I feel like they're scoring a lot in garbage time too. It's not like they're just keeping up with teams and they just don't have enough juice. They're scoring a lot during garbage time. So I'm going to go no. Also, Georgia's defensive front is good. It's not Tennessee's defensive front. And you can flip that.
Well, and you mentioned push. You asked if this team would push the Tennessee defense, Landon or Chase. Do you think that Josh Heupel may be pushing anybody this week?
What do you mean?
Kirby Smart made the news, made the rounds.
Oh, yeah.
Mainstream media was all over it. You didn't see that?
Yeah.
It was Van Buren's first start, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
or maybe just his first snap.
I know. Okay, I get it.
This guy's been known to get into little scuffles.
Okay,
with the
that took me a second.
Coach. No, but people won't talk about what he said to Kirby Smart. I mean, they're just all taking his side. But I want to know what he said. Give me the mic'd up before I make a judgment.
He's good. He's got juice. Van Buren's got juice.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's plays at Mississippi
I think he was
State,
the
which
quarterback
sucks.
where at that powerhouse in Maryland, right? St. Francis, where Idris Farouk, Tennessee freshman safety, was
Dominique
at.
Bailey.
I was going to say,
Dominique Bailey.
Was it just Dominique Bailey? I feel like there was another one too.
Aaron Willis
earlier.
was here, but
That's
he
it.
left.
Aaron Willis. That's a name I've not heard in a while. And I think Darion Smith in this class is St. Francis too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you look at these numbers, 31. Like, that would be such a silly thing that happens here. But, like, would y'all take this? Let's put it this way. If Tennessee's offense broke out in terms of the aerial shots, and it feels like Mizzou, Tennessee 2022, but Tennessee wins like 55-28, and Mississippi State gets 2 or 3 bombs, would you take that of like the secondary getting pressed a little bit, getting beat over the top in a way they haven't all year, but you also get to see the offense break things up over the top? Or would you rather it be more of like what we saw and they hold them under 20, but Tennessee only wins like 28-10 or something?
Well, how would that happen? Is Will Brooks injured? Like, how does anybody possibly get behind him?
It's a no-fly zone back there.
Yeah.
The
thing is I'd love to see Tennessee's offense break out, but this team is what this team is at this point, right? Like, we're too late in the season. Could Tennessee's offense play better? Sure. But I don't necessarily want to see an entire like flip of a script and be staring at a different team. And now you're wondering, okay, what's going on? Like, I kind of think I want to see this team just take on the identity of a hard-nosed defense, and let's see if the offense can score 30. And
you want to run the triple. Let's get Jeff.
Can they score 30 points in a triple option? Is that possible?
Ask Army.
Yeah,
I have. I don't think they've scored 30 a lot this year.
Navy was scoring quite a bit.
Army scored a lot. Army's moving.
He airs it out.
Maybe
Army does air it out a lot more now.
Oh, is it Army that's throwing it a lot? One of the two.
Army's throwing it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say one of the two are throwing it a lot. But
we
they're
used to be a
lining up in a
country.
triple option. Right. No, I don't necessarily want to see a triple, but I mean, you are, you found the identity that you are. And, cliches are cliches for a reason, and it's defense wins championships. And I think right now your path to a championship, your path to a college football playoff is defensive play. So could this be a 28-point game, teams getting behind you, and it all be a wash, and next week look the same again? Sure. But I also don't want to see a scenario where we're turning and raising our hands and going, what has happened to this team? I think I want to see a team just take on their identity and punch people in the mouth with it.
I mean, Michigan won a national championship with it last year.
Yeah, but they had the signs, which I would accept that, by the way.
Yeah. Chief for one, who cares?
Sure.
Yeah.
No one can see that fine print asterisk next to your
I'll be Connor
championship
Stallions. I don't like, that's fine.
It is crazy to me that people are praising him. And you've got guys in Alabama poisoning trees, and they're like, yeah, he's just insane. That's terrible. That's the equivalent. He poisoned the tree of college football, and people are praising him for it. He was a psycho fan, same level as Harvey Updike, and he gets a Netflix documentary about him where they just bow down to him as the king of Michigan for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh, man. Final thing here, and we'll wrap up here on a Tuesday night, fellas. Basketball happened on Monday night. Your biggest takeaway from Tennessee beating the Gardner-Webb Bulldogs on Monday night at TBA?
Jordan Gainey is really good.
Gainey is good. Gainey and Meshack combined 4 for 8 from deep.
Yeah.
I love seeing Meshack's quick trigger. I love it.
I love seeing him on defense. He's such a dude.
That was a given, though,
Right.
We knew what you had there.
Yeah. I mean, I think their best 5 is when they go small. It's not when they go big. I think when they go small, it's like you can have
JP Estrella in that.
Whoever the 5 is. I mean, it can be Akpara. It can be. I don't know if you want.
Akpara had a rough night, man. That was the one I wrote down where I was like, oh, this got to get better in a hurry. I think Akpara really struggled last night.
And Rick Barnes' comments made me more hopeful. And I don't think, unless he's just getting soft in old age, I don't think he would say that unless a guy was really injured. That doesn't come across as a a coach giving a player an out to me.
Yeah. And for me, though, that wasn't my issue. My issue is like the offense. Like, why are we throwing it in? Like, he's not Shaq down there. Like, those early entry passes and, like, letting him post. I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
he just can't be a black hole. I don't think he touched the ball 8 feet from the rim and didn't pass. Like, I don't think he passed it a single time 8 feet from the rim.
Like,
I get it.
He needs to be rim running and, like, the just lobs and put back dunks, this, that, and the other, and being.
Yeah, be DeAndre Jordan.
I did mention.
We don't need the post ups. We don't need any of that. Like, that stuff cannot. Like, he doesn't have. Like, Jonas Adu had a back. Like, Jonas Adu had moves, and Jonas Adu could do stuff. Folky had moves inside. Like, Folky was a legitimate guy inside. I mean, Akpar doesn't have that. It's like, we don't need to call it for East Ponds. We don't need to call it for Akpar. Like, this. Let's go ahead and chuck that out.
I did mention Rick Barnes getting soft. How many minutes would pick a player? Admiral Schofield, a guy who Rick Barnes loved. How many minutes would he have played last night if he tried as many alley-oop attempts from all over the court that Zakai Ziegler did? I think he might have played 15 minutes last night. I mean, I was like, he's getting yanked. And no, he's got the longest leash Rick Barnes has ever given out. And I love it.
Rick's
he's
favorite
earned it.
Player ever.
Yeah. He's earned it.
Yeah.
But you just never seen it with Rick. I mean, Grant Williams would get yanked for mistakes that every player makes.
I mean, Zakai is just like, he's such a quarterback and he just knows ins and outs and like Rick trusts him unequivocally as he should because Zakai is awesome. But I think the other thing too, I don't know if y'all thought, like I jotted it down, I think he's not going to be Dalton Connect, but Chaz Lanier is going to have so many games this year where the defense is not going to be there. It's going to drive us mad for some games, but he's going to have that stretch where he had that off the dribble 3, the catch and shoot 3, and then that fast break layup. That game went to a double-digit game in like a minute and a half. Like, he is a flamethrower, and that shot is quick, and he has that fill it up in a hurry type deal that when Tennessee's offense is in the mud, just like that's just part of the deal in the Rick Barnes era, Lanier is going to come out, and you're going to be like, whoa, when did we get up 16 on Vanderbilt? Like, when did that happen? We were in a 4-point game, and you're like, oh, Lanier just went up and down the court and just went flamethrower mode for a little bit. I think Lanier is going to be the Vols leading scorer. I'd be surprised if he's not.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you need a guy like a Dalton Connect-esque where he's going to get you points in games where you need it. He's going to score 30 when you need, like, to win anything significant, you need a player like that. But I'm encouraged that it looks like we have a lot of guys that with the ability to score. Mentioned Gainey, mentioned Mayshak. Mayshak being a score, if he's a scorer, if he's a guy that gets you 8 a night,
yeah,
that's huge. You obviously have Zakai's got to hit a 3. It feels like he hadn't hit a 3 since last February. Like, surely
he's like an ultimate person where I just wonder with Zakai shooting, he just works so hard. Like, his legs have got to be like, I understand he's in the best shape and everything else, but that was something we saw in the tournament last year where Zakai just wears it. He plays so many minutes that his legs go in these deep threes and everything else. I think that's, to me, I don't know if I would be curious to know what his shooting numbers look like in the second half versus the first for a lot of these games because he plays the entire second half most of the time. He's going to play, I would bet he plays the entire second half against Louisville on Saturday. I don't know. I think that's probably part of it with shooting, but I think Tennessee, Cam Carr, that's a big TBD. Cade Phillips made the jump too. Like, Cade Phillips, I think is going to be an important player for Tennessee over the next couple of years. Like, Cade's good. He did a lot of stuff well.
I mean, he seemed to have passed Estrella, right?
I wonder if that, yeah, I mean, Estrella also come back from injury. He's getting back in the groove. I mean, but he was past Estrella in the first half, but he came off the bench first in the second half. Like, Estrella came in early in the second. Gotcha. So I don't know if that was just Rick experimenting.
I think JP's still going to be better defensively than Cade. I don't know how
JP's good. I like JP too.
He defends well.
Yeah. I think you kind of saw who the guy, I mean, Bishop wasn't available, DeBar wasn't available, but I think that group you saw last night is going to be the rotation. Like, I think that's going to be the main 8-9 guys.
And we're so much more athletic. I love Josiah and Santi, but athletically, just being able to run the court and get the ball out in transition is such a breath of fresh air. I mean, I think that should be a huge point of it. The way you play defense, if you can't get steals and go in the other end and shoot a layup, like, I mean, what's the point in working so hard getting a steal? Let's just get a stop, and we're going to run our offense on the other end. But being able to get easy baskets at the rim is huge for a team that struggles from downtown. And that's just a Rick Barnes thing, like you said. But also the huge thing that I saw last night was in the Indiana scrimmage, Zakai only shot threes. Like, this is only shots from the field or from three. Last night was not the case. He got to the rim. Now, does he get blocked a few times? Sure. But him being a threat at the rim and getting the ball, I think that gets him going a little bit, gives him some confidence. But it's also like I mean, he struggles from three for whatever reason. So him being able to shoot something other than a three is big for Tennessee's offense.
Agreed.
I like it. Caleb, Landon, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at More Important Issues and Fox Sports Knoxville this week?
Yeah, got a show on Thursday in studio, so we're going to try to get a guest for that. I don't know who exactly that's going to be, but we'll try to get a guest for it, have something set up, and yeah, another big tailgate this weekend. So anybody's welcome to come on by. Chase, you got to come this week.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It was fun. I liked it. It was good. Good setup. Nice people. It's a good time.
Okay.
Clutch location. You're in a good spot. If you want to park, if you're worried about parking, just park downtown. It's an easy walk, brisk walk. It's convenient. It's convenient. Nice people, good food, good drinks, all that good stuff. Y'all know what you're doing. Y'all are vets. You can tell it's a veteran operation.
We've done it a time or two for sure.
Yeah.
It has taken some training.
Yeah.
Strong Santiago Vescovy and Josiah Jordan James energy over there at y'all's tailgate. Y'all been there for a while.
Yeah.
We've got long leashes. We're good. We're more Zakai now. But yeah, previously it was those guys.
There you go. Caleb, Landon, thank you so much for the time, and I'll talk to y'all next week.
Appreciate it, man.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.